Yes, guys, welcome again to our channel. Now, first of all, before I do anything, let me thank everyone who has taken time to subscribe to this channel. We are new, and I thank you and I celebrate this milestone. Today, we just reached 104 subscribers, and this means that the content we've been producing for just a few weeks has been good. While I know there are areas we need to improve, I promise that going forward, we will be having great content. Thank you. And if you're watching us for the first time, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and making us grow together. And we also should know that we do not take your support for granted. Now, in my tribe, there is this good saying that says that there are many ways of killing a rat. So, for the past 3 months, Raila Odinga has been having these demonstrations in response to defiance to William Ruto. And as we all know, it led to the creation of the bipartisan committee, which right now its meetings stand dissolved. Raila gave some threats, and it is hoped that he was going to follow or back these threats by action. But looking up to now, one wonders, what is his secret plan? What is his agenda, or what is his new strategy that he wants to use to address these issues that are facing Kenyans? Because let's face it, in the recent weeks, he has received a lot of calls from different quarters, from Kenyans of all walks of life, calling for demonstrations. But he's been hesitant. And I also have a different view and opinion on his recent strategies, because I think there is something that happened somewhere. And for that, I will give you a very detailed video. In fact, I think it will be the next video that I'll be doing tomorrow. So you will realize that Raila Odinga has not been quick to go to the streets. You remember that on 2nd April 2023, Raila Odinga called off the mass demonstrations and protests that he was having countrywide. This happened after William Ruto had reached out and extended an olive branch calling for a dialogue that would be channeled through the parliament. He accepted this, and that is how things have been. The next time they called for demonstrations, it was not as strong as the earlier ones were. And it seems there was a gentleman's discussion that these two leaders had that informed the stoppage of these countrywide demonstrations. But let's not forget the precursor to this declaration. You remember that US Senator, who has been very involved in Kenyan affairs, you remember he was here during the handshake days, Chris Coons. He was here and he went and sent a delegation to Gachagua. He also sent a delegation, in fact, to him, met the Azimio principals, and they talked. Then later on, there was that visit by Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor. And you know the relationship between Raila Odinga and Germany. So it was part of, like, these leaders also participated in ensuring that these two warring parties came together and sorted some level of differences that they had. But looking at how their last serious demonstration happened, where Raila Odinga's car was targeted with close to 7 bullets, Raila Odinga had to change tact, because going head on and looking at a police that was that ruthless, it is either people or demonstrators were going to be lost more, because you realize that they had also started targeting journalists. So it was either that the demonstrators were going to lose their lives in numbers, and even either some leaders would be targeted and killed in those commotions. And therefore, Raila Odinga needed to create a new strategy to address this issue. And in today's video, I want us to look at some of the strategies that Raila Odinga has adopted to ensure that his target and his issues that he wants solved are addressed by the current regime. First of all, it's like, if you look at him recently, you'll realize that he has been giving some threats, and then time lapses, but nothing happens. He gives threats, time lapses, and nothing happens. The last threat I remember was when they gave the government up to, was it Tuesday midnight? And I guess it was this Tuesday, for them to withdraw the finance bill. And this, first of all, was unrealistic threat, because you cannot tell a government of the day to withdraw its finance bill, and it is the government. That was not even a threat. For me, I would tell you that that was playing to the gallery, because they know Kenyans are so opposed to that bill. And therefore, the only thing that they can do is they look like they're on the side of Kenyans. So that threat, they knew it was not going to have any effect. But the real intention was to show Kenyans that they also are in that thing deeply. So that threat, you realize that they say that if that midnight Tuesday will reach, we will give a statement. Tuesday reached, and they came to give a statement, and the statement that they gave was talking about people from Central, this, that. It was all about moving away and diversionary tactics. So I'd tell you that Raila Odinga, in his earlier plans, he has changed tact. And that is why you realize that even as the agreements that were agreed about how the bipartisan committee was to be run, William Ruto has not been meeting his obligations. And if you remember, when they left the other time, they said that Kenya Kwanza side looks like they obtained instruction from two different centers of power, and therefore they could not discuss, they could not make progress. So Raila Odinga has taken a different strategy. And I want us to look at one of the strategies that Raila Odinga is employing. First of all, he had realized that demonstrations were becoming very costly to Kenyans. Children were being hurt, women were being hurt, some young youths are being killed here and there, others injured, taken to the hospital with no one to care for them. So he has decided to change tact. And for me, I believe and I think that the next strategy that Raila Odinga is going to adopt will not be just purely demonstrations as it is. But Raila Odinga wants to create a national defiance to the UDA government. This is it. He's going to leave Kenyans to suffer. We are going to suffer for many days as this pressure is piling. The more we suffer, the more we get angry against the government. The more we suffer, the more we get angry. Because earlier on, you realize that when demonstrations were called, there are people who are saying that demonstrations are illegal. There are schemes that opposition has developed to ensure that they go and destroy properties of people, businesses here and there. And the government was facing them with a serious force. Therefore, Raila Odinga looked at this and he said, he has been very predictable. And therefore, this time around, he's not going to be predictable. So you've seen him quite silent and not engaged in any serious political activity that would make you think that he is still holding some power in the country. So he has decided that he's going to use a slow puncher method, where as we go, we release that gas, so that when we go to an extent that we cannot move ahead, Kenyans will be forced to start that revolution by themselves. And therefore, do not expect any sooner that Raila Odinga will come and call for a demonstration. He is going to wait for the finance bill to pass. Once that bill passes, he is going to create some smoke screen to show that MPs are opposed here and there. But that is not his end game. Raila Odinga, as we've known him all time, his game is never played in parliament. He has never used a game by politicians and won. When he decided to leave his base in 2022, he did not have anyone to stand with. So that is what has happened. Raila Odinga is going to let us move slowly, get that pain, get that pinch, until a certain level that things are going to be very unbearable. That is the time when he will strike. And if William Ruto does not plan well, he might be found unawares. Because as we stand now, even the police are suffering from serious cash crunch. Even the police are suffering from serious cash crunch. You are told that they don't even have money to feed those who are remanded in their cells. So if he strikes at a moment when there is serious financial crisis, it all goes up in flames. So that is a strategy that I think Raila Odinga is employing in this new way of handling William Ruto. Because he has realized that if I come to this person with my ideas of Sava, with my ideas of Cherera 4, it is not resonating well with Kenyans. The second strategy that Raila Odinga has adopted is that he is absolving himself from the blame of being an economic saboteur. What do I mean by this? For many years, or in many instances, when Raila Odinga engaged in these demonstrations, people from all different quarters of life have said that he's killing their businesses, that those demonstrations are meant to destroy properties. And therefore, with the understanding that the government is having a serious cash crunch, he is absolving himself from that blame. You remember in 2022, when the UDA team was campaigning, one of the major accusations was that Raila Odinga came to their government through the back door and interfered with every development plan that was already set. So this is a strategy that Raila Odinga is using now to ensure that in this their misery, I do not want to be blamed for anything. And therefore, I want to give them my peace. But one thing I am sure of is that this trouble is just starting. Because for sure, we are in a serious crisis economically. And looking at the nature of taxes that this government is proposing, it is going to be worse. So that is food for Raila. We say that when your enemy is making mistakes, don't disturb him. So Raila Odinga has realized that UDA, when they got to this government, first of all, they did not have a plan. They did not have a plan. And therefore, without this plan, they are running all over like headless chicken to find a way of salvaging this economy. And it seems they do not have any idea. So Raila Odinga has left them, make your own mistakes. We will come when the time is right. So personally, I think Raila Odinga has decided to let UDA make its own mistakes. He does not want to be muddied by the activities. That is why you even see when it came to prayer breakfast, they decided to abscond it and let other people attend. So that is another strategy that I think Raila Odinga is using to ensure that he gains popularity and does not carry any blame with the Kenyan population. The third strategy that I think Raila Odinga is using here is that with this reduction in demonstrations, you remember at the time of demonstrations, some people had started pulling away because of the heat they were receiving. So he's trying to consolidate people together. That is why you saw people from Central coming and giving that press conference. These are people who were previously, they had given up, they had left, but he has given them a new opportunity to coalesce together, to regroup, so that they can have and forge one political front. This is aimed at endearing themselves to the Mount Kenya youth. And that is why, in that press conference that was done, they were targeting Mount Kenya youth. There are two things happening. First is that Rigathi Gachagua initiated a war on bars in that area, in the guise that Mount Kenya youths are drunk all the time. So that is a war that, while it is a good one, there are people in business that are already affected. Another thing is that there is this war against Mungiki, and he had given a warning, a serious one, in church. So this Mungiki thing is like it is targeting Mount Kenya youths. So you'll realize that these are people who feel targeted by this government that they helped put in place. So when they form, like you saw, they gave that press conference and they said that we will fight for those Mount Kenya youth. It is a strategy of endearing themselves to these people, of finding popularity from these people. Once they capture that group, it will be moving like Titanic, and they will handle it and they will deal with it to an extent that this government will not find space to breathe. So that is how I think Raila Odinga has planned his new strategy of handling and addressing William Ruto. That's my take. We can continue discussing down in the comment section. And please, thank you for sparing your time to be with us till the end. We are celebrating our 100 subscribers, and we thank you for joining us in this journey. Please consider subscribing if you have not subscribed.